Irish politics moves fast, and we're here to keep you in the loop. Daily updates, raw speeches, and real debates straight from the source. If you want to stay ahead, hit subscribe and join the conversation.
Taoiseach, my understanding is that the audit into unnecessary hip surgeries carried out on children at CHI hospitals is now complete. Can you confirm that this is the case for the Dáil, please? And if so, can you tell us when that audit will be published? When I raised this scandal of unnecessary hip dysplasia surgery on children with you 4 weeks ago, you were unable to shed any light on the matter. You gave me no further information, and you certainly gave me no answers. So, a month on, I want to ask you again, how many children are caught up in this emerging scandal? Are we talking about hundreds, or is it more? How many letters have been issued by CHI to parents? What was the reference period for the audit? Is it years, or is it decades? You see, Taoiseach, every single day our offices are receiving communication from parents in distress. They're left asking themselves the gut-wrenching question, was my child one of those operated on unnecessarily? What are the consequences of this for my child? One parent who's been in touch, well, their child was only 3 when they had surgery. And this is the first parent to tell me that they have now received clinical confirmation that their child didn't need the operation performed on them at a CHI hospital 3 years ago. This parent has now been told by a surgeon, having reviewed the scans from 3 years ago, that their child's hips were fine. The surgeon says that they would not have performed the surgery. So I think we need to let this sink in. Clinical confirmation that this child's surgery was not needed. This parent is absolutely devastated, Taoiseach. She told me that she can't believe what's happened. She describes it as like a horror film. She asks, why was my child diagnosed with a condition that they did not have? Why was my child put through the trauma of surgery if it wasn't needed? I just keep asking myself, why? Another of the mothers who reached out after she received the letter tells that her son had his left hip operated on in 2018 but was told his right hip was fine. He was called back, however, in 2021 and told that the right hip did in fact require surgery, despite displaying no issues. So she took the medical advice. She describes this as a devastating decision. She tells us her life son deteriorated dramatically following this operation. He now suffers serious health development complications and catastrophic consequences from the surgery. And the mother is overwhelmed, thinking that her child's surgery might not have been needed at all. Taoiseach, we've also received confirmation from a parent who received a letter whose child had the surgery in 2010. That's 15 years ago. The child is now a 20-year-old adult. So does this scandal, does this issue go back that far? Tá scandal na lani rinne obrád gon gá ag fós gach lá. Tá soléirú agus freagraí a tastal inis. Cé bhéad lani atá I gceist the híisi. We've one parent whose clinical confirmation that their child's surgery wasn't required, and this scandal and stress is growing by the day. And remember, Taoiseach, your former health minister, Stephen Donnelly, knew about this a year ago, and yet he delayed, and parents are only dealing with this now. They can no longer be left in the dark. They need answers. They are entitled to that. So can I ask again, the reference period of the audit, how many children are affected? Is the audit complete, and when will it be published?
Dús baire ein team go with show Anna Freinoch agus bora chama agus is olcon scale aid on what atá writer a good on pre-rod now go make an audit crimseach agus go make she a going cholua is fader. At the outset, it is extremely serious, this situation, which has necessitated an external audit. That's the first point. And for any child to go through surgery is in and of itself a trauma. For parents, it is also a trauma. But if it emerges that children went through surgery that was not required in the first instance, that's not only very traumatic in itself, it is a scandal in itself. But I think it's important, Deputy, that we await the presentation of the audit and the completion of it to the Minister. The Minister, I spoke to the Minister yesterday, has not received any final draft or the completion of the audit. I've spoken to the Minister has made that point to me. It makes it very difficult all round then in terms of commenting in a piecemeal way or on an individual case or a case-by-case basis. I'm not in a position to do that today until the full comprehensive audit is finalised, presented to the Minister, to the Government, and obviously shared with this House. And it will be shared with this House. And yes, you're correct, CHI and CAPA have issued letters in recent weeks to families who may have concerns to provide information and so forth. But ultimately, it's the completion of the report is key here. And I understand there may have been drafts or whatever published in the ditch or elsewhere. I don't know. I can't speak about the provenance of that other than to say this, that the sensible thing for us to do is to enable Mr. Thomason, facilitate them to complete the report as quickly as possible now, given the anxiety, concerns that are undoubtedly out there. And that is accepted that those concerns will be there for families whose children would have gone through this particular surgery over a significant period of time. I understand the audit process is in its final stages. Feedback on the draft report has been received, I understand, by the expert author and is being reviewed. We simply have to assemble all of the facts in a comprehensive basis, await the outcomes of the clinical audit, and then decide on actions resulting from the outcome of that. And the entirety of what took place needs to be understood and laid out there fully and transparently. And as I say, then actions that would then be necessary that we would follow through on. And there are multidisciplinary teams in place in these hospitals in terms of preoperative decision making and right across CHI and CAPA, and that process has commenced from March onwards. So the hospital authorities are obviously taking on board the concerns and so on. It was raised initially via a protected disclosure back in September of 2023, relating to different thresholds for surgery being applied in CHI in the National Orthopaedic Hospital in CAPA. The department was notified in 2024. The clinical audit, as you know, has been conducted by Mr. Simon Thomas, consultant surgeon to the staff of the Children's Orthopaedics Unit at Bristol Royal Hospital for Children. And we simply have to await the completion of that. And I would hope it will be very sooner rather than later to help deal with the concerns and anxieties, but also to deal with the issue itself.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
Tá scéal go léir scanalach an dabhas Taoiseach ach tá sé scanalach freisin go bhfuil tuismitheoirí is páistí fágtha gan freagraí. I mean, this thing has dragged on and on. I said to you, your minister knew a year ago. And families then receive these letters, there's an audit underway, and then there's this unbearable, almost cruel wait and wait and wait. I have spoken to one parent who has told me they have clinical confirmation that the child underwent surgery that was not needed. That's one. I don't know, are there more? You say that we have to wait for the process to be completed. My information is that the audit is in fact completed. You told me, by the way, 4 weeks ago that this was in its final stages. That's not good enough, Taoiseach. It's not good enough to issue letters of something of this magnitude that government knew about for a year and more and leave families in that position. That, to my mind, is unacceptable. Can I ask you again, information that you do know or should know? Clarify, please, the reference period of the audit, how many letters have been issued and how many children are affected. And as Taoiseach, tell us, when do we see the audit?
First of all, I think it's regrettable that you would seek to politicise the issue, as you're attempting to do. Secondly, The first people who should always be contacted in a situation like this are the families who are affected. That is why correspondence goes from the authorities, in this case the hospital authorities or CHI, to the families. That is as it should be. They shouldn't be hearing about it in a piecemeal way or whatever, because they're first and foremost need full transparency. Secondly, you must know this in your heart. It would be unacceptable to be trying to release piecemeal and case by case in this case. The sensible thing to do, and it is frustrating, people have to wait, but we do have to wait for the full audit. And in situations like this, which involves other, you're well aware of all of this, I know, but it doesn't suit in terms of, the politics of it. But the bottom line is this: a draft report gets sent to all who've been involved.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
The feedback has come back.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
The audit will have all of that information
Thank you, Taoiseach.
available for everybody, and that's the proper way to do this.
Deputy Ivana Bacik.
In a democracy, information is power. By subscribing to our channel, you become part of a community that believes in open access to political speech, unedited, direct, and authentic. Join us as we document Ireland's political journey, not just through headlines, but through real voices and real stories. Stay informed. Stay connected.